Boeing's B-17 Flying Fortress is a rather overrated bomber from World War II, carrying less bombs than compatriots like the B-24 Liberator. The Second World War saw military aviation develop at an alarming rate. Aircraft evolved from the flimsy biplanes of the First World War to be large, powerful monoplanes. It was strategic bombers that saw a big change, with America's B-17 Flying Fortress one of the leading lights. Developed by Boeing, the B-17 became world-famous for its daylight bombing with the U.S. Army Air Force, and the famous Memphis Belle became a movie star too. However, while the B-17 took the limelight, there is an argument that the B-17 was a massively overrated aircraft, and compatriot aircraft like the B-24 Liberator could carry bigger payloads. It wasn't as fast as the likes of the B-24, and Britain's de Havilland Mosquito could carry almost the same payload with 2 fewer engines. Yet somehow, the B-17 took all the Boeing's excellent PR team ensured the B-17 became world famous. One thing that was not in dispute that allowed the B-17 to become so famous was the excellent PR that it received from Boeing. The B-17 was providing good service for Britain's Royal Air Force Coastal Command, something Boeing knew all too well. This all before the bomber had seen combat service with the U.S. Air Force. Coastal Command was using the B-17 as a long-range maritime patrol aircraft, a role it was fulfilling brilliantly, and it was quickly lapped up in America. Ironically though, the RAF had found the early B-17s unsuitable for use over Germany as a bomber, hence the coastal role. Despite the misgivings of the RAF, the United States Army Air Force would fly the B-17 on combat missions once it entered the war. The good service the aircraft was earning in Europe with the RAF meant back home the B-17 was becoming a highly regarded aircraft. The fact it wasn't in its main bomber role was of course seen as nothing but a technicality. The reality was though that the B-17C variant was not ready for combat. It needed improved defenses, a larger bomb load, and more accurate bombing methods. The RAF had actually lost 8 B-17Cs by September 1940, just a few months into their service. A larger bomb load and more accurate bombing methods. The RAF had actually lost 8 B-17Cs by September 1940, just a few months into their service. Why the B-24 Liberator outshone its Boeing rival in every way. The B-17 first flew in 1935, but just a few years later, the B-24 Liberator took to the skies for the first time in 1939. Externally, the B-24 looked bigger, more capable and more modern than the B-17, but it was within the performance and payload in which the B-24 really excelled. The B-17 had a top speed of 287 miles per hour, a maximum range of 2,000 miles, and a payload capacity of up to 17,600 pounds. The B-24 meanwhile was faster at 297 miles per hour, and while the overall range was lower at 1,540 miles, its range with a payload was actually longer than that of the B-17. For an 800-mile mission, the B-24 could carry 5,000 pounds of bombs versus the 4,500 pounds of the B-17. The B-24 also had better defenses, and way more were actually produced throughout the war. Some 18,482 B-24s were in fact built versus the 12,731 B-17s. The B-24 was in fact the most produced bomber in aviation history. But the B-24 wasn't the only aircraft just as, if not more capable, than the B-17. Britain's de Havilland Mosquito had the same bite for half the size, and with 2 fewer engines as well. Memphis Belle ensured the B-17 continued to overshadow the B-24. What also helped the cause of the B-17 and its fame was Memphis Belle. Memphis Belle was one of the first B-17s built and one of the first to complete a tour of duty of 25 missions. The aircraft underwent a full restoration in recent years, finally going on display again in 2018. For all the fame though, the reality was the B-17 was vastly overrated as a strategic bomber. The de Havilland Mosquito was a British light bomber, powered by 2 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines. The same used in the Spitfire and Lancaster. Yet despite the size, the Mosquito could carry a hugely impressive payload, up to 4,000 pounds worth of bombs, just 500 pounds shy of the larger B-17. all this while able to fly at speeds of up to 415 miles per hour and deliver its payload with pinpoint accuracy at low level. The B-24 easily outshone it, and the fact a small British bomber had almost the same payload spoke volumes. It would be unfair to say the B-17 was a bad aircraft, because it wasn't. It played a vital role in the outcome of the war.